Welcome everyone to the Repurpose Your Purpose podcast. I am Aurora Meneghello, and this podcast is about doing work you love. And if you are not doing it yet, well, getting inspired to finding your path. But if you're doing work you love, I really hope you also find ideas on growing as a leader or as a business owner or in whatever endeavor is occupying you right now. So, hi, Anthony. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Hola, hola, hola. I'm excited to be here. Okay,
So,
finally.
finally, that's right.
Good. Finally.
I have to say thank you because you started listening to my podcast at the beginning and left a comment. You know how important it is when somebody's starting a new project to see a familiar name and face, actually recognizing this. So, thank you so much.
Hey, you're totally welcome. But usually when people start things, their friends, are supposed to listen. But what I usually do is tell them, send it to me each time. I'll listen.
Mm.
I actually listen to it. But if I don't put my podcast to remind me of stuff, send me what you want me to listen to, and I'll listen to it. Right. And then after I'll leave a response because I listened to it.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you this episode when it's ready.
Yeah, like I'll blast it all over the internet.
There you go.
Repurpose your purpose.
There you go. So, before I start with my questions, I'd like to read a little bio so everybody listening to this know who I'm talking to. So, here it is. I would love to introduce you to Anthony Fields, the AI Design Jedi, who is passionate about designing a better world. The 2024 Webby Anthem Award and 2023 International Design Award winner for Slideteller, Hearing is Seeing. Anthony is a certified MIT xPro AI product designer and design champion for the Don Norman Design Award. All right. So I'm
I'm
a
out.
big fan. I'm a big fan of you and what you bring to design and technology and entrepreneurship. And I'm super excited to actually ask you, how did you get started? How did you find your path?
Okay, my path started. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I would really appreciate it. Uh, how I found my path started with my mother and father. Seriously, my mother and father helped me with this path. I always knew that I was going to be a designer. Uh, It was a given, right? It was a given. Instead of going to college, well, instead of going to college, I asked my parents for the money to buy a company. They they looked at me like I was crazy, but they gave me the money, and I bought into a company, a design, an advertising firm. And from there, I changed the company from being an advertising firm into a design firm. And then I had that for like 12 years, and then I lost it. But during that period, I was able to a I launched Costco in Canada. So I launched the first 10 cost. There was one started. Yeah, so I launched like 10 Costcos in Canada. But this is like back in the 90s. I was young. Then after that, I started doing interactive television. So before the internet came, I was programming how to do interactive television. And that's how I came here to the US. But after I lost my company, I worked for a software company as a director doing the Dow Jones engines to do the transfer of the transactions. Did that for a while. Then after I was invited to come to the US. So then when I came to the US in 97, that's when everything just kind of started happening. Started happening for me. Worked on, yeah, it just started happening. So I knew from a young age, my parents helped me get there, and I'm totally grateful all the time for them for doing that for me, getting here.
Wow, I don't know what's more. amazing that you asked for the money for a company instead of going to college, or your parents said yes.
Well, one second. I still went to college. I still went to college.
Okay,
I have my
okay.
degree, but I actually went to college during the nighttime, right? So
Interesting.
that was part of the requirement was we'll give you the money, but you have to get your papers. So I did college during the nighttime. I was actually went to college for architecture. That's what I got accepted for architecture. I did architecture for like about a year and a half. Then after that, I left architecture, went straight into design, and got my degree in design. And that was it. After that, I've been spending all my time all like going to school, learning things all the time. I always learning. Learning is part of the mission. I have to learn all the time to be ahead of the curve. I don't like to be with the wave. I like to be at the forefront of whatever's coming next. And I have to say I've been able to do that for a long time.
That's one thing that actually impressed me. We talked about this a few years ago. I just still remember you mentioned AI, how AI was gonna be big. This is a few years ago. And
Mhm.
you told me you were gonna learn about it. And
Mhm.
you enrolled in a program, right? And what struck me was that so many people, when it comes to AI, start talking about all the things that is wrong about it and how they're gonna lose jobs, these kind of things. But you had a different view. Like, can you sort of tell me a little bit what you were thinking, and then your experience learning about AI?
Okay, so I've been in AI since 2006.
Okay, so even way, way, way before we
Okay,
talked
yeah,
about this.
yeah. I was already in AI. A few of the products that I was working on was based on AI. But the other thing about AI, like when I first came here, we used to work on a product called iPublish, which got purchased by Microsoft for publisher. And the same way that AI gives you all these different configurations of a business card or a logo or something like that, we used to do that with publishing content before the full automation like it's now where you tell it. We had images that you would click on and the system would automatically configure it for you. So I was there early. Now for myself, everybody's scared about AI. A lot of people are scared. You think they should be because the monotonous jobs are going to be taken away. But the beauty of it is that it allows us to, for me and my journey, it allows me to change the lives of lots of people.
Mm,
And the industries that I choose to follow right now that I'm looking to change lives. One is the blind.
mm,
So that Slideteller application, I worked on this with my friend Mio Yamauchi, and we put this out for the blind. We tested it last year. It went over really well. Now I'm working to refine it using AI. The other area that I'm interested in, I'm spending time is elder tech.
mm,
Since I've gone through this situation with my mother with the hospitals, I've been looking at how can I use AI to make her experience better, and
mm,
how can I use it to make my experience better, being a child who manages. I manage my mom from abroad, right? So how can I use the tech to manage to do those kind of things? So coming up, like I would say sometime in the fourth quarter, I'll launch another company that's focused strictly on elder tech. And then after the last area that I spend time in is this thing called virtual biographer. We started a company called leaves.us that works on capturing your story from your family or even from yourself and helping you create a biography for yourself. And imagine this idea actually kind of kickstart because of AI, because I was doing this in 2004, right? And the reason why I've done it is because my friend's father, his name is Barry Bonds, his father, Bobby Bonds, passed away,
Mm.
and everybody wanted to say something. So I built a website so that they can log on and share their thoughts and feelings. They can upload videos, put pictures and all that up on a website. I was sitting on it and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Next thing I know, I was just like, huh. One of my mentors started a company called, he started the company Leaves, but it was doing other things. It wasn't doing what I was doing. And then as soon as the AI stuff started popping up, he reached out to me and said, hey, Anthony, you want to work together? I said, sure. What are we going to do? He says, why don't we bring both of the products that we've been working on together? So now we've brought our products together. And the first one, we put out a test early this year called How I Met My Sweetheart using AI. I know, really, this is how you use AI. You use AI to do a single job.
Mm.
You don't use it to do everything because then after you do not have the reason that you don't want, well, this is just my thought. The reason that you don't want it to do everything is that you always want to have a human in the process. When you don't have a human in the process, that's when things go wacky. And in my approach is as long as I can do one thing really well, I could then after add to it. So
Mm.
we started with How I Met My Sweetheart. Beautiful. You can go in, it asks you 5 questions about how you met your sweetheart. You can upload a picture. It actually makes a video, it makes a video of the from the pictures and the text that you've done and with an audio voice, puts it all together, and boom, you have how you met your sweetheart. And then coming up soon, I would say within the next couple of months, we have the other parts of it, your graduation, your first kiss. We have a whole bunch of topics that our database is so big, so big. Because imagine we've been collecting this information since over 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a really big database of content of how to make these stories. So we're not using AI to make the database. We already had the database. And we tested this process with another product where we built timelines for you. It takes like a half an hour to do it. You upload, tell all your stories and everything. It takes a half an hour. That took too long. And my thing was I want to share my information, but does it take me a half an hour each time? I don't want it. So that's how I met my sweetheart came about because it's like literally 5 minutes. You could do the whole thing in 5 minutes.
So you put all your information and AI makes this product. Like, what is the database? Like, is that stories you collected or?
Well, it's not so much stories that we collected is relationship stuff. So it already has a whole set of questions that
Mm,
revolve around relationships.
mm,
Right? That are more curated from a human aspect, opposed to AI looking through all these books and giving you questions.
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we did that over. That's been done over the course of years.
Wow.
But the whole goal with it is that now you have a real organic base of information that AI can use to craft these messages. We're still working. We're still teaching it how to do things,
Mm,
but like any AI product, that's what's needed.
mm,
So that's how come I even though I was working in AI before, I still went back to school. So I went to Berkeley and did a marketing strategy piece at
mm.
Berkeley. And then after that, I went over to MIT and did the product design in AI, just so that I knew what I was doing. Right? I've already done it, but sometimes it's good to have a little bit of background, and at the same time, you get to actually talk to individuals, you know,
Yeah.
who are more like-minded, like what you're doing.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I remember. We talked about the MIT program, but it's so great because that's what you were saying, that you're always learning, right? And the piece also is that we learn from each other.
Exactly.
So to be in
Exactly.
this dialogue and collaborations and creativity with other people, I really see how it comes through, in your passion and everything you do. But I was wondering if you can tell me a little bit more about Slideteller.
Okay. Yeah, this is really good. So Miyo Yamauchi is a storyteller. in her other life because she was a Toastmaster also. But as a storyteller, she put together a one-woman show called How to Be Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
And during this show, an individual came up to her and said, "Hey, how can you help me being blind?" Right? So she came to me, software guy, right? How can we solve this problem? So
Hmm.
we talked about it, we brainstormed and we came up with the first um, uh, audio playbill.
What's an
So
audio playbill?
an audio playbill is, when you get the agenda when you
At
go
the
to
theater?
at the theater and
Mm-hmm.
it tells you all the stuff. We made an audio version of that
Oh,
using
okay.
AI. So when the blind individual came to the show, we downloaded it to their phone and they were able to listen and read and hear everything that's on that playbill, right?
Okay.
So that
Okay.
was that was kind of the genesis of getting to Slideteller. So
Okay.
now she's still doing the show, it's doing really well, and she's leaving to go to Vancouver. Yeah, so go to Vancouver. And she said, "Hey, what can we do for?" Because Vancouver, particular, they are very into the disabled, doing things for the disabled. So
Hmm.
we said, "Yeah, we can build it." I said, "I can get it done." So like, I think it took me like 90 days to build it, right? So me and my team, we got together. Mia was telling us what she's going to do, back and forth, and we came up with Slideteller. So we used AI to describe the slides in her presentation. So in her one
Oh.
show, she has slides going on in the background, right? So we describe what the slides say and send an audio description to the blind individual's phone that they can listen to it as she's going through the show. We did like 50 slides using AI. I had
Wow.
to go in and do some correction because it one of the things that we learned during this process is that, because remember, we're using AI from 2020, 2023, early 2023. And it wasn't great for content for ethnicities because her
Oh,
show has heavy Japanese influence. So
okay.
the AI did not know those Japanese influence. So we had to correct it in what it was doing.
Interesting. Okay.
Right? But that's things that you learn. So now that we have the ability to, as she's going through the show, we have the slides being sent as it's going through the show. So they were able to listen. They were able to listen to her, and then after in the background, they could hear what's on the slide. So keep them up to date. We actually filed patent work on this.
Hmm.
So we actually had to file a patent work for it first before we actually put it out in the marketplace, right? Because if you put it out in the marketplace, you can't protect anything.
Right, right.
So now we protected it. So now it's September and we're in Vancouver, Canada, at the show. We had, I think it was like I think it was like seven visually impaired individuals who were at the show. They all downloaded the app. Then when the show started, we started going through everything. Now, for me personally, this was a total success because we just wanted to see if it worked, and it did. It really did work. Now, we have a lot of things to fix,
Hmm.
but in fixing it, I know that we're going to change a bunch of people's lives.
Hmm.
Now, do people really think, "Oh yeah, the blind"? It really makes a difference. Just think about it. You're blind, you don't go to a concert because all you're doing is listening to music. But if you have the ability to have a description sent to you as the Taylor Swift show is going on and she's changing her clothes and stuff is happening in the background, that's a different experience.
Wait, what do you mean you don't go to a concert because you're just
Well,
listening to
how many
music?
blind people do you see at a concert?
I I honestly I
They,
don't know. I
you
never
don't,
really
okay,
thought
they
about it.
don't,
Yeah.
they don't go, right? Because all they're doing is listening to the show. That's it. Right? So our thing is about live events. So let's just say that they were going to go to the ballet, right? you can go to the ballet and have Slideteller describe to you what's going on at the ballet.
Wow. It's so, well, first of all, Mio, I was just thinking about it. I love her work that I had to I want to invite her to this
Oh,
podcast. So it's
yeah.
fantastic. But like this is what really strikes me. That struck me from the beginning of knowing you and having conversation with you. It's like, you see problems or you
Mhm.
see things that are not working, and then you go into solution mode. Like you think, okay, how do I solve it now? Me, and I think I'm not the only one here, I think I'm in the majority here, which is, I see a problem and I complain about it, or I just like move on, like there's something really, I think you do it so much, like this sort of creative problem solving where you see it and you come up with a solution. And I'm
Mhm.
really fascinating. Like I'm fascinated by how does that work? Like, were you always like this? Is that something you learned? Like, I don't know. Tell me more.
Okay. Yeah, I know exactly where it comes from.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It comes from my dad.
Hmm.
And it's not about that I'm a problem solver, is that I have empathy. I have a cause. I have a purpose.
Hmm.
I have a I have a tool that I can share with the world.
Hmm.
I'm not I'm not greedy in sense that I want to be a millionaire and the hell with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It would be good to be a millionaire. Don't get me wrong. Okay, it would be good. But and why I say it started with my dad, because okay, I'm gonna make this short. My dad was an accountant, and he retired early. And what he would do is that he would spend his time going to church and everything. Him and my mother would go to church, but he would then after help the people of his church with their taxes, right?
Hmm.
So that and he would do that for years. I didn't know he would do it. When my dad passed away, I when I went to the church for the viewing and everything, I look a lot like my dad, and people are just like, Norris, Norris, Norris. I said, no, I'm not Norris. I'm his son. They told me, oh, your dad did this for me in accounting. Oh, your dad did this. I mean, literally, I would say 20, 30 people walked up to me that whole night telling me, your dad did this. And we're not talking about we're talking grandparents my age and their kids. It's like three generations my dad was helping. So he gave of himself, of the tool that he had, which was accounting. Oh, and my dad used to be a programmer too. So he gave of himself. My mother, same thing. Now, how does this reflect on me? I like to help people. It's like when I used to be married, my ex-wife used to say, oh, you give too much, you give too much. Yeah. But I didn't know why I gave, right? Going home and seeing and finding out that about my dad made me understand why I give. Because this was something that was already in me, and it expressed itself in different ways. For me, it expressed somebody has an idea for to do something. I will talk to you about it. I'm not going to do it for you, but I'll talk to you to give you inspiration to do it and take that step. Because sometimes people just need a little push to say, go do it, right? Or even when they say, well, I can't do this because of blah blah blah, but because I try to take the because out of the way and say, now what can you do? Right. So that's always been in me. So now when Mio comes to me and says, hey, Anthony, how can you solve this problem? Uh, it's not that difficult. I've been around enough tool sets so I know what can work, what doesn't. My biggest problem was finding a bunch of blind people. Finding blind people to test was my problem, right? But once I found a group of blind people, I was in. I was in. I was committed, and they were surprised that I even built the app. Right? I funded the whole thing. I built it to prove that it can be done. So if little old me could do it, getting funding shouldn't be so difficult, which I find is difficult, but that's a different story. But you can't you can't go away from something that is going to make a difference in people's lives. It's just, it just does. It just makes a difference. So that also drives me to the elder care, right? Elder tech is because I saw the troubles that I had to go through dealing with my mother at the hospital and gathering information. And I was just like, whoa, this is just ridiculous. In this day and age, we have this much problems. It's not happening. So back to, I know I teamed up with a friend of mine. He worked with me on the Hilton project. And then after he brought in some AI girl, and I was just like, okay, fine, let's go for it. But he was working in elder care for, I would say, like 6, 7 years. I think somewhere around there in elder care. But for me to say, yes, I'll work with him, is that I saw that I used to follow him. So funny. I helped him with his TEDx talk that he had up in San Francisco. Because I'm going to go to Anthony to do my TEDx talk. I said, but I saw the work that he was doing through his Facebook with the elderly. And I was always curious. It's like, wow, you spend a lot of time with the elderly, right? But then when I've actually got to talk to him, as I'm going through my process, because I was in Toronto when I was going through my situation, and he calls me and says, Anthony, I'd love to talk to you. When he brought up this whole elderly stuff, I was just like, I'm in. You didn't have to tell me anything else. You just had to say to me, this is what we're looking to do. And I said, I'm in. I'm good. Let's go for it.
I never realized that. I don't think you ever told me that story of how it all started and with your dad.
Ah,
And I'm
yeah.
really seeing this very differently. To me, it always seemed like it was more of a problem solving. And instead, like what I'm really getting right now is that it's really having some gifts, some skills, and really being in the mindset of like I have something to give. It's not just for me, it's really to share and to give
Sure.
is such a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. It I think that's why I have fun mentoring people, or the people that come across my path.
Mm-hmm.
It's because not every day they're going to bump into an individual like myself. But when I do bump into them and I do have to spend some time with the individual, if it's a year or what, all I want to know is that I've given them enough tools to go do something really great and
Mm-hmm.
just pay it back. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not looking to take all your money from you, nothing. Just pay it back. Because the thing is that I'm seeing that working with Don, right? Because Don's been around the block all over the world, does a whole bunch of stuff. But being able to say, hey, listen, what are you going to do to make the world better? Right? My approach is do something for the blind, do something for the elderly. But Don saying, hey, let's recognize young designers. Now, when he put this in front of me, I'm going, young designers. The one thing that young designers always love is to have an individual like myself to talk to, because they never get to talk to an older designer. I just
Mm-hmm.
ask them, hey, what about this? What about that? Because I get this now from Don, right? I get to talk to Don. Don is not a designer. He's more of a, I would say he's more of a thinker, right?
Who's
But
Dawn so that people
also,
maybe
so I keep saying
understand?
Don. Yeah, sorry. So Don Norman. Don Norman, he's like about 88 years old, but he is the father of the word user experience.
Okay.
So he used to work with Steve Jobs at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you say the word user experience, it came from Don. He was the guy who coined that phrase. So now I get to work with Don, right? So it's like all of everything that we've done kind of connected, because I work with Apple. He worked at Apple. He went to MIT. I gone to MIT. Uh, my mentor is Rao. Rao, he used to be one of Apple's scientists. And him and Rao have been best buddies since Apple, right? So it's kind of like this whole family that we have. And oh, one second. And the beauty is this. The beauty. it's so serendipitous, I guess, maybe. But there's this lady, Arlene Miller. Arlene. I could call her Arlene. Arlene is the inventor. She was the inventor of the cricket phone. The cricket phone is what they use for the elderly, where we had the big buttons.
Okay, okay.
He's the inventor.
Wow.
Wow. So, okay, it gets even crazier. It gets even crazier. I'm sitting with Arlene in her office in San Diego, and we're talking back and forth, back and forth. My company, Bling Software, back in the day, like 2006, was making apps, and she knew my company then, and I didn't even know her. Now, this is where it gets even crazier. I mean, it gets even crazier. So I'm in her office, and I'm looking in, like, in the front entrance area. She has cell phones up on the wall, and I'm going, wow, that's an old cell phone, like the original. She goes, oh yeah, my husband invented it. It's Marty.
Wow.
Exactly. I'm going like, get out of here. Yeah, yeah, my husband invented it. I'm
Wow.
like, oh my God, access. And this is all 6 degrees of separation kind of stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question because, yeah, right, you mentor young designers. And so, well, I'm curious, like, if there's one thing that you feel most people, including people new to design, really get wrong about design. Like, what is something that to you is very important to understand about design?
Oh, the easiest thing is don't be afraid to fail. That's the problem. All the tools and everything that's given to people
Mm,
are made so that you don't fail. You have to fail. If
mm,
you don't fail, you don't know what you did wrong and what you could do to make it better.
mm,
Everything can't be perfect. And they got to understand that. That's the first thing you got to do as a designer. Yes, you're going to be designing great stuff. Yes, yes, yes. But you have to fail.
mm,
That falling down and getting up is 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 the is the lifeblood. It's the oh my God. Because once you get it, you go, oh God. You could tell that journey.
mm,
You could tell that there's nothing better than telling somebody how I got. If I told you Slideteller, oh yeah, it's a hit. How about those 90 days was pressure. We were changing. Mio was changing her stories because she's an artist. She's doing her thing. I have to update the files on the other side. We have to figure out the network. Right now we're sending stuff. We have APIs that we have to build. It's like so many things are going on in 90 days. And then after we're going to go to somewhere and tell blind people, hey, we got this new product for you. Listen, we weren't perfect, but the mere fact that I was able to go in and say, hey, blind people, I don't know anything. Please help me. And
mm,
that ability to be humble
mm,
takes you a long way. Takes you a long
mm,
way before you even start designing. Because I went, well, then again, I built a good network, right? And because like one of no, tell you, life is so weird. I got some really cool stories. Okay. On my advisory is a guy named L.A. Williams. He's
mm,
blind. Now, I met L.A. Williams through Clubhouse. So long when Clubhouse started, they asked me to come on board, blah, blah, blah. I went on and whatnot. But I met this blind guy named L.A. Williams. L.A. Williams says, I don't know, somebody introduced LA to me through Clubhouse. And LA, being blind, he wanted to have an icon to tell people that he was blind. So I
mm,
made I made him an icon to tell people that he was blind.
mm,
In charge him, it is here. I said I do this in my sleep. Enjoy it. When I had to find a blind person to work with me, I thought of LA. So
mm,
I went through Clubhouse, found him. he reached out, whatnot. We talked, and it only hit me this. I go and put the information he was giving me was really good. It was great. I go to put his name on the website. I say, hey, send me over your bio, and I'll put it up. He sends me over his bio. I didn't realize L.A. Williams is a famous engineer who makes music for, like Janet Jackson and these kind of people.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm going like, who would have known, right? Who would have
Yeah,
known,
yeah.
right? He's famous for doing this, and he also does a bunch of stuff for the blind. There's a lot of things around the blind, right? He's a
Right.
very famous guy. I didn't even know he was famous. All I know is that I had this blind guy that I made an icon for helping me out.
I feel like you have stories like this because you really like you just go for things, and that thing that you're talking about, not to be afraid of failure, like you just have to like try things out and be creative, and creativity is just about being in the moment and trying and iterating.
Yes, but society keeps trying to tell everybody that you can't fail and everything's going to be big. It's
I
like
know,
it's like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I people keep telling me, oh, you should have more followers, and it's just like, nah, no, I don't need a bunch of followers because what are they waiting on my every breath that I have to say something afterwards? No, I don't need.
Yeah, you're right. It's very much this sort of, on one hand, the fear of failure, and on the other hand, you have to be a super successful, So you're
Yeah,
stuck between this sort of like it's a catastrophe if I make a mistake, and like I have to be the best of the best and have, yeah, and that's just not how life works, you know?
exactly. It doesn't.
Yeah, yeah.
I believe with a small group of people, I could make a difference. Because remember, the way that I'm looking to make a difference is if I could change the lives of a group of people, which is the blind, which is not a huge population for us, if I can make their lives much easier, I can go into the sunset, honestly. I can go into that because I know that I made a difference in a group of people's lives. I mean, like, I was able to change the behavior of a group of people. And it's not even so much I'm changing the behavior of the blind.
It's
I'm
more
changing
like
the
it's not
behavior
so
of the
much
sighted.
changing the behavior, it's more like you're opening up opportunities and
From the
ways that
sighted
you
side,
can. What, say it again?
from the sighted side. Because remember,
Mm,
we who have sight don't pay that much attention to the blind.
right. We don't pay. It's funny. I sometimes like it's so we are very attuned to the problems that affect us personally,
Mhm.
but we are not good at at noticing problems that affect other people. And some of that, I think, is just because we couldn't possibly deal with our lives if we were constantly right, really. But it's like, but it really, that's how it works. And I always tell this story that years ago I broke my ankle, and then when I was starting to walk again on it, I was aware of every little thing in the sidewalk where it's
Yeah.
hard to step down, and here there's no elevator, like. And I was like, wow, I never noticed before, how inaccessible a lot of things were, right? Well, once I started walking well again, and then I went back to my life, like I went back to not noticing. I mean, and it was all very innocent. It wasn't, on
Right?
purpose. It's just like you don't notice what doesn't affect you as much. You really have to pay attention.
Exactly. And
And
that's why I'm in looking at elder care stuff, elder technology.
mm,
It's because you don't notice until you have an ill parent and they need help. How do you how what are the tools do they have to help them? It's like even this is how bad it was, right? I bought my mother cordless phones so she could walk around the house and talk. But once her hands became numb, she couldn't press the button on the phone
mm,
and she couldn't answer the phone,
oh,
right? So I had to buy her our standard phone that plugs in with the bigger button so that she could touch. It's that keeps her connected,
yeah, yeah.
right? Even with on a Apple iPad, that I got for her. You can make things bigger. They have a really cool accessibility tool. They have really good accessibility. I've been through all of Apple's courses since I'm working with them. I've gone through all
Mm,
their courses for accessibility. Um, she can now have bigger icons and stuff on her screen and less content
mm,
on the screens to work with, because that's the other thing is it's like when you have all these icons and they're touching stuff, all these windows pop up for them. How do you
right,
get rid
right,
of that
right.
and make it easy?
Yeah.
It's little things. And I think for me, being able to make change in, like, for me, I believe that I've engaged my mother with technology, and I think that I can make that into and not to say much an application, but more of an experience that I could share with other people to share with their parents, right? Or any elderly person that needs some type of help. And if I'm able to do these little things, they're going to add up to big things. One of the things that I'll share with you this in 2007, yeah, 2007, I invented the a faster Amber Alert system for kids, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did that. So back in that time, it took an hour to do it, to make an Amber Alert. So the police officer comes to your place, gets all the information about the child, goes back to the office, uploads the information into the system, and it goes out to everyone.
And an Amber Alert is an alert for missing children.
Children, yes.
Mhm.
So that whole process, I was able to knock off 45 minutes off of that whole hour process and bring it down to 15 minutes. I could do even less, I'm pretty sure, but I was able to do it in 15 minutes. But I was I was doing this journey because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, right? And the problem is I actually partnered with a company that was out to make money for themselves.
Mm.
And and yes, I won the lawsuit and everything against them because they tried to steal my tech. But the outcome is that yes, you won a lawsuit, but on the opposite side, you lost the impact of changing the lives of parents to be able to find their child.
Was that the technology was not deployed? Is that what happened,
It
or?
wasn't, yeah, it wasn't deployed because
Okay.
you were fighting. I used to
Okay.
have a deal with the deal with what's his name? John Walsh, America's Most Wanted. That's who
Okay.
yeah, we're getting ready to do it, but when you're in legal battles, people don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
They don't want to work with you. So that kind of
Yeah.
went to the side. But I never was able to pick that back up. But that was like kind of like my foray into the whole making the change in society.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
But even though it didn't happen, and this is something that people gotta understand. It didn't happen, but it didn't change me, right? Because it was it was a big deal, millions of dollars put into it, and it went nowhere. But the silver lining is it did go somewhere. Why? Because I learned how to do GPS tracking.
mm,
I learned how to do dynamic publishing for people
mm.
to make things easy. I was able to put together figure out easier processing, how to do stuff. And all these things kind of trickle down into what I do today. What I do for Apple, I make sure they have really cool processes in the applications that they build in the back in the enterprise place.
So let me ask you something because you
Mhm.
do a lot of collaborations.
Mhm.
And what is something that you've learned about having successful collaborations?
Successful collaboration. Oh, I got a great one for you. I got a great one. Successful collaboration, both people have to deliver something that's different to the solution.
So more like look for complementarity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to complement because if you're both doing the same thing, there becomes animosity,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Complement, because then after you will learn from me, I will learn from you. That's the first thing. Second thing, the individual, I don't care who it is, individual that you're working with, make sure that they don't have any debt.
Mm.
Because a person who has debt
Mm.
works differently than a person who doesn't have.
Hmm.
Their approach is different.
Well, what I'm hearing is that so you really want to have complementarity
Mhm.
skills in what you bring to the project, but when it comes to financial dealings, you want to be on the same wavelength
So,
there.
so those are kind of the key things, because getting the job done is the easy part. It's the whole relationship up front
Mm.
that you have to work on to
Mm.
see, hey, are we compatible? And if you're not compatible, just turn away and say, can't do it,
Mm. Mm.
because it's going to save you a lot of headaches, a
Mm.
lot of headaches, a lot of headaches. So.
All right. Wow. Okay. So, let me see. I want to ask
I'm a,
you one more
I'm a chatty
question.
Cathy.
No, so this has been that's become a little bit of a tradition here that I ask every guest. What does inner wisdom mean to you, and how does it show up in your life or in your work?
Inner wisdom shows up to me through through the mentors I have around me,
Mm.
because I feel that they feed me, and a lot of my mentors are
Mm.
older guys. They feed me a ton of information
Mm.
that I'm able to put together in a creative way and make solutions for.
Mm.
And it shows up. And how does it show up in my work? Slideteller, perfect example. Ra, my mentor Rao, he he took the time to say, okay, Anthony, I'm going to be your mentor, but you got to show me that you really want this. And being able to build the application was one of those things that showed him, this is what I can do. And and how does it show up? My other mentor, Mike, that I've been around for like over 20 years, him being able to come to me and say, hey, Anthony, I like your skill sets, what you want. I want you to come in this project with me. Right. That shows that what I've done made a difference in his life, and he wants me to be part of it. How does this reflect in my work? Is that I give that extra, I don't know if it's extra, but it's just that love towards that messaging, building the new products comes into it all the time. It just comes there. And just on the other side, where I have the wisdom, where I have a guy Sudair, who I'm working on in the elder tech, him being able to think about, now he only knows me, Anthony, from helping him with his TEDx talk, but also from working on the Hilton project, right?
Mm.
That's what he knows of me, and then Facebook. But I made a difference. I made an impression on him, that he said, hey, let me talk to Anthony about elder tech, right? Him feeding me that information, and he, right place, right time, like everything in this world. He got
So,
me that
oh,
right place,
sorry.
right time.
So, what is inner wisdom to you?
It's the knowledge that I get from other people.
Interesting. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
not really coming from you,
No, it's not. It never came from me. It
right?
the thing, I look at inner wisdom like roots of a tree,
Mm.
right? They go all the way out, right? And it brings in sustenance to make the tree blossom and bear fruit that you can share with people.
Mm.
That's what the inner wisdom is, like being part of those roots. And me as a I'm I became a I found that I became a connector, in the sense
Mm.
that people want to solve a problem, they come and talk to me,
Mm.
right? But they don't know. But the thing is that they have a bunch of knowledge, but I know how to take that knowledge that they have and make it into something, and grow it. Now, I'm not that person who keeps watering it, but I know how to take that nut that you have and make it into something. I can craft it, right? But it comes from being able to talk to that individual and pull out that experience that they're looking for.
Mm.
So yeah. And then also it's also, like I said, back to my father and mother, right? They they believed in me. They did things so that I can grow, right? I've always gone back to that well of my mother and father. Now, my dad's not around anymore, but I'm able to go back to my mother. Now, she's not as super creative as my dad, but she gives a different perspective that I had to learn over these past couple of years of how she interacts with me.
Mm.
Because her interaction to me was through my dad all the time,
Mm.
right? So for me, inner wisdom is the base of individuals, of thinkers that I have around me. Don, Rao, even Mio, because she has totally different thinking, which I totally love. Um, my buddy LaShawn, even Yuko, because
Mm-hmm.
Yuko is part of our. So we have a Sunday morning gathering that we do. Just talk creative and stuff. Yuko comes. She's the only person that we actually let come to our group. Everybody else, you can come and visit, but you can't stay. But that wealth of knowledge is what I kind of I gain sustenance, gain wisdom, and gain inner happiness. And I have to say, it's kind of like my superpower. I have these individuals that are around me that I could talk to, that allow me to express myself really
Mm.
well. I think that's what that inner thing is. It's not an Anthony thing. It's a we thing. It's definitely a
It's
we
a
thing.
we thing. Is that what you said? It's a we
Yeah,
thing.
it's a we thing. Yeah, it is a we.
You really, I think of all the people so far that I talked to, you've given the most different like answers. So it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm gonna leave it at that. Look, okay, so we gotta wrap it up here, and I wanna ask you, is there anything else you wanted to talk about that I haven't asked you about that you want to share?
Anything that I want to talk about. Oh my God. Anything that I want to talk about. I don't know. I'm just happy that you asked me to talk. It's just like the thing is that it's like right time, right place all the time to hit me up. It's just like yes, and then after I automatically do it. Um, I don't know. I think that something that you didn't ask me about. No, there's nothing that
Okay,
I
okay.
didn't.
Just
No,
wanted to give
I'm
you.
just I'm just I'm just enjoying the moment, right? Like
Yeah.
we sit back and we chat. Like I said, I have all these experiences in life that I get to be part of. It's just like even last week, my friend Willie Mays passed away,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And the thing that allowed what it allowed me to do with his passing was able to remember those moments that I had with him. Everybody's talking about baseball stuff, right? And I was going like, man, I didn't have these baseball moments with him. I had more like friendly moments, and it's like here's this friend telling him about his life when he was growing up in the Jim Crow years, what I mean?
mm,
Or when baseball had the Negro League and stuff like
mm,
this. Is like
mm,
this is unbelievable. But
mm.
yeah, like you know what? I could talk all the time. I can talk all
So, Anthony, if anybody wants to get in touch with you or find out more about your work, or where should I send them?
to Calypso Studio.
Okay,
Calypso Studio, yeah. CalypsoStudio.com.
okay. I'll put
CAYPSO.
the link. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And or even get me on LinkedIn. I think
Okay.
I spend more time on LinkedIn than the other social media stuff.
Okay. So
Yeah.
LinkedIn and Calypso Studio, and
Yeah.
I want to thank you again. It's been
Thank
such a
you.
pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much for
I
sharing all
wait.
your stories.
Hey, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And
See,
everybody, if you would like to learn more about my work with career changers, leaders, and business owners, just stop by repurposeyourpurpose.com. Have a great day.